Hey, we're the Monkees! Yeah, you know the rest, right? The Monkees were many things to many people, including a hit show about musicians as well as musicians themselves who helped rock the world of music with some really sweet songs like Daydream Believer, I'm Going Down, I'm a Believer, and more. They are forever going to be an iconic band with many going and singing their songs to this day. But what happened to the group after the music stopped? What did they do with their lives? Allow us to show you the Monkees then and now. Mickey Dolenz. Being the son of actors George Dolenz and Janelle Johnson, Mickey Dolenz was destined for fame. He got his start at just 11 years old in the children's show Circus Boy. He began his musical education for this show, taking guitar lessons for a promotional Circus Boy tour where Mickey and a baby elephant traveled doing tricks and songs. He took to music, created his own band, Mickey and the One-Nighters, who did some originals plus covers, his favorites to perform being Johnny B. Good. And when the Monkees audition arose, he rocked out to Chuck Berry's masterpiece and won the job. Mickey was chosen as the drummer and a lead vocalist, and with some lessons, he even learned how to play drums properly. According to Mike Nesmith, Dolenz's distinct voice made the Monkees stand out, and he and Peter Tork would occasionally pass over lead vocal duties to Dolenz on their compositions if things weren't sounding right. Dolenz wrote some of their hits and provided lead vocals for monumental tunes like Last Train to Clarksville, Pleasant Valley Sunday, and I'm a Believer. Dolenz even directed and co-wrote the show's finale. After the Monkees ended, he did a lot of voice work. Cartoons like the Funky Phantom, Devlin, and Captain Caveman, and the Teen Angels as well. The 80s reignited some Monkey mania with a reunion. There was a screening of the entire Monkees TV series on MTV and a single, that was Then, This Is Now, which reached number 20 on the Billboard Hot 100. Then, in 1987, a 20th anniversary tour, a greatest hits album, and a brand new LP, Pull It, brought even more exposure. Mickey has also worked closely with legendary musicians like Carole King, Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, and more. In recent years, Mickey and Nesmith have been touring again, basking in the Monkees' limelight once again, singing Monkees hits. In May 2021, the two released a solo album called Dolenz Sings Nesmith. Dolenz has been married 3 times and is the father of 4 daughters. Today, at 76 years old, Mickey is currently getting ready to embark on the Monkees' farewell tour. Davey Jones. No, not the pirate who apparently has a locker underneath the ocean, the other Davey Jones. Davey Jones was a huge draw to the series, petite with big eyes and bigger charm. Davey, like Mickey, also started out quite young, with his first TV gig coming at 15 years old in an episode of BBC's Coronation Street. Following the death of his mother, Jones rejected acting in favor of a career as a jockey, but even though his jockey mentor believed in him, he pushed Davey to take the role as the Artful Dodger in a production at London's West End. He took his Artful Dodger to Broadway and even got nominated for a Tony. The same night the Beatles made their historic Ed Sullivan performance in 1964, little Davey was there with his Oliver co-star Georgia Brown performing on Sullivan 2. Jones said of that night, quote, "I saw the girls going crazy and I said to myself, this is it, I want a piece of that." Following Sullivan, Davey both scored a TV contract and his single, What Are We Going to Do, debuted on the Hot 100. When the Monkees were being formed, Davey had a leg up as his TV contract was with the producing Screen Gems, singing lead vocals on perhaps their greatest hit, Daydream Believer. After season 1 ended, Davey disappeared from the public for several weeks, while a series of morbid rumors about his death made the rounds. Reportedly, the unfortunate truth was that Jones had received a draft notice and decided to fast for weeks in order to fail the physical. It worked, and many girls cheered as a result. Post-Monkees, Davey opened up his first store in New York City called Zilch, which sold hip clothing and accessories, even allowing customers to design their own clothes. But he didn't give up on music or television. From Laugh-In to My Two Dads, Davey was always a bright spot guest starring on shows. He even continued into the 90s with Boy Meets World and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And of course, who could forget his classic episode of The Brady Bunch, where he was the object of Marsha's affections. What? You feel the other girls should have gotten a chance? Sure, Jan. Musically, he collaborated with U2 and continued with solo work too, including his album called Just Me in 2001. In 2008, Yahoo Music named Davey Jones the #1 teen idol of all time. In the early 2000s, he began performing during Epcot's Flower and Garden Festival, a yearly gig he continued until his death. In 2012, Davey was tending to his horses when he began complaining of chest pains and difficulty breathing. After being rushed to the hospital, a severe heart attack took Davey Jones from this world at 66 years old, and many cried. Peter Tork. Peter Tork often played the dumb role, but was far from that in real life. Tork moved to New York City after college and straight into the folk scene of the 1960s. Musician Stephen Stills was considered for a Monkee but didn't pass the final screen test, but Stills pushed his former roommate Peter Tork to audition, and the rest, as they say, is history. He was the most musically efficient Monkee, the only one allowed to record any tracks on their first 2 albums. Tork was also the first to depart the group at the end of '68, using an opt-out clause in the original contract. But the buyout left him with little money, so he taught algebra and coached baseball at a private school, even worked as a singing waiter at one point. He later said he'd have been pleased to join Mickey and Davey in their reunion tour had they asked. But Tork did make some great tunes. He collaborated with the Beatles' George Harrison, but his record and movie production studio flopped, and Tork was forced to sell his home and move into David Crosby's basement for a time. In the mid-70s, he finally reunited with Mickey and Davey, joining them for the single Christmas Is My Time of Year. And he also joined the highly successful 20th Anniversary Reunion Tour. Tork sporadically did some acting too, like 2 episodes of Boy Meets World in 1995, and even a horror flick called I Filmed Your Death, which was his final acting endeavor. Back in 2009, Tork was diagnosed with a rare neck cancer. He had undergone surgery and radiation therapy for years before his cancer returned in 2018, and he died the following year, just 8 days after his 77th birthday. Michael Nesmith. Nesmith started his musical career singing in folk clubs around LA, serving as the hootmaster for the Monday night hootenanny at the Troubadour, a West Hollywood nightclub that featured some outstanding young talent. Nesmith won his Monkees role by appearing nonchalant. He rode his motorcycle to the audition and wore a wool hat to keep his hair out of his face. And when producers whittled the pool down, the wool hat guy was a finalist. He wrote a lot of the songs for the Monkees, like The Girl I Knew Somewhere and Mary Mary. Quality hits. But similar to Tork, Nesmith was fed up with the manufactured music and image, not being as a true musician as he is. So he also bought out his contract in 1970, and it also put him in a financial bind. He didn't participate in the 1986 reunion tour because of prior bookings, but he did jump on stage for the encore of the LA show to much fanfare. Post Monkees, he helped form the group First National Band, where he wrote most of the songs, including their hit Joanne. The song hit number 21 on the top 40. He has been considered one of the pioneers of country rock. In 2018, Mickey and Michael toured together for the first time under the banner The Monkees Present, The Mike and Mickey Show. Even though the tour ended up being cut short due to health problems on Michael's part, which resulted in quadruple bypass surgery, they eventually reunited to make up for those canceled dates in 2019. As of 2021, the 78-year-old Michael will be touring with Mickey for the final farewell of the Monkees. So what do you think of this look at the Monkees and how the group not only came together, but how it went and changed the world of music in its own way? Were you a fan of them when they were popular? Or did you learn about their music afterward and realize how good they were then after playing their music a lot? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.